This series contains themes of violence against women and child abuse. Listener discretion is advised. There's a stretch of coastline along Sydney South where the ocean beckons surfers and early risers in activewear brave the punishing hike up the sand dunes. For many locals, the Sutherland Shire, the Shire as it's affectionately known, is the model backdrop to beachside life in Australia. Those who came of age during the Shire's heyday, the 1970s, describe the time as idyllic, carefree, rebellious, even wild. A trip to the beach was a daily ritual. Surfers were idolised, beer and barbecues were synonymous, and family camping trips were close to mandatory. Yet in the shadow of the sun and the sand lurked a darker side to this sleepy beachside life, where underage sex, rape, teenage pregnancy, drug use and alcohol-fuelled violence were commonplace. A time when teenage girls and women were urged to find makeshift weapons in their handbags to protect themselves from the all-too-common unwanted attention from men in groups. And where missing teens were dismissed as runaways, only to become, in many cases, unexplained disappearances. Elaine Johnson is one such case. It's been 45 years since she was last seen in the Shire area of Cronulla.
It never leaves you. It's just always there in the back of your mind. You think about it every week, like you're just always wondering, always looking. Maybe you'll see her, maybe she's alive. You just don't know. You just keep going. The search doesn't stop.
Elaine's sisters Wendy and Helen have cherished memories of their kind, funny big sister, the carefree hippie who wore flower pants, loved the beach, and used lemon juice to lighten her already blonde hair. To them, she was a wildflower. Though if you ask them to pinpoint the last time they saw Elaine, the exact date, exact time of day, they can't say for certain. I'm investigative journalist Kate Carchaw, and this is their story of searching for Elaine.
There's a hole in my heart the size of an island. Islands can be big and small. My love for you will never go away.
I first heard about Elaine's disappearance when I interviewed her sister Helen for a related story back in 2019. Since then, we've kept in touch. Right now, I'm on my way to visit Helen and hear more about Elaine and the lengths her family have gone to find her over the last 4.5 decades. Elaine wasn't born in Australia. She spent her early years in England, travelling with her family at age 5 to southern shores under the £10 POMS immigration program. Like scores of other Brits, the Johnsons came to Australia in the hope of a better life. They travelled the country before putting down roots in Sydney's south.
I think I might have been about 7 or something, 8, when we moved to Cronulla.
This is Helen. Helen was just 12 when Elaine went missing.
We loved living in Cronulla because we had all the beach and the Gunnemanna Bay, so fishing and swimming was something we'd done lots of. I don't remember a lot about Melbourne and Queensland. I remember that we used to go out a lot. Every weekend we'd go to different places. We'd always go on our mystery drives that our dad used to take us on. He'd never tell us where we were going because he would always get lost. So he would just say, we're going on a mystery drive, and we go, oh no. And we knew we could just end up anywhere, and that could be nowhere.
Yep.
Because he could never find his way around. Didn't know his left from his right. We did a lot with our parents. So when we were in Cronulla, it changed a bit because, we had the beaches there. So we used to just go off and do our own thing. So they used to call me Fish because I kept swimming all the time.
It was 1973 when the Johnsons settled in Cronulla. The average yearly wage was $33,000. It's around $100,000 today. A loaf of bread cost 24 cents, a litre of milk, including delivery, set you back 27 cents, and petrol was 10 cents a litre. Gough Whitlam was Australia's Prime Minister, iconic Aussie rockers AC/DC performed their first official gig, and a new national women's magazine, Cleo, was making waves with its naked centrefolds. It was also a time when the country was on the cusp of change. The dream economy of the 1960s would soon become a national nightmare. By 1974, Australia was in a recession. Money was tight for the Johnsons. As a house painter, Clifford Johnson knew regular income wasn't guaranteed. There were times when he and the family had to move house because either he couldn't afford or didn't pay the rent. You won't hear from Clifford during this podcast. Sadly, he passed away in 2020. He died not knowing what happened to his firstborn, and as he called her, the apple of his eye. During her childhood, Helen remembers her father as a man who enjoyed life and lived by his own rules.
He was always at the pub, so I think he blew a lot of his money. He lived for today and not for tomorrow. That was his motto. We didn't have a lot of possessions, really, because my dad was a throwaway person, everything was disposable. We didn't have a lot of stuff because we had the beach and the fishing and everything around us. We got lots of stuff at Christmas and then that would be gone or sold later.
Family photos from this time don't reveal the stress of these financial struggles. There are photos of giggling sisters, of funny faces, dress-ups, matching outfits, monkey bar climbs and summer days in pigtails and shorts. All happy, family fun. It was common for the family of 6 to share a 2-bedroom rental. The cramped quarters didn't faze the children. As Wendy remembers, it was all they knew.
We didn't even think anything of it. We were used to it and it was fun. We still fight and argue like normal siblings. Sometimes we wanted top bunk and argued over who was sleeping where. But we used to love it, actually. Elaine had top bunk. Elaine and Helen, and me and Helen on younger ones on the other one.
As well as fun and childhood laughter in the home, there was always song.
We always had music in the house and, Mum always sang. Always busy walking around with singing, and Elaine loved music. She loved taping and making up dances, and we had the copier and do as we were told, copy the moves, do it right. She loved ABBA. Elaine was my big sister. I looked up to her. She was fun. We used to always colour in together and watch TV.
Other than her siblings, Elaine's strongest friendships were formed at school. In her early years, she spent time at the primary schools in Cronulla, Woolooware and Burraneer Bay, before spending her teenage years at Cronulla High School. I've chatted with a number of Elaine's childhood friends. The conversations ranged in length. Some only lasted a few sentences, like,
I was a good friend of Elaine's. We met in first year of high school. I spent many days at her place with her sisters, but unfortunately I left school when I was 15, so didn't have much contact after that.
I was good friends with Elaine. We went to school together. I had moved away just before she went missing.
I remember Elaine, but only because she hung around the river.
Other conversations lasted hours on the phone. It's clear the friends who were closest to Elaine back then still cared deeply about her. Most of these friends haven't gone on the record as of yet. Many have considered it, some even agreed and then changed their minds. For many, it's still just too painful to speak publicly about. As for others, the family is unsure why they don't speak up. As you'll hear in later episodes, a lot was going on around the time Elaine went missing. Not all of it good. 1979 was a tipping point for Elaine's friendship circle. Some were leaving school for full-time work, others had moved out of the Shire with their families. Afternoon beach trips would become weekend visits or the occasional overnight stay. It was a time of change for Elaine too. She quit school.
During that year and the previous years, she often didn't attend school.
These are Elaine's mother, June Johnson's words, but not her voice. They are shared with the family's permission.
She told us that she was going to school, but we often found out that she didn't go.
Cronulla High School records show she left in September 1978. It was a decision she kept from her parents.
I think she used to hang around Cronulla with her friends. There was an amusement arcade in Cronulla near the railway station, and I know she and her friends used to go there.
The place June is talking about was known by locals as Flashes. It was popular with teenagers. More on that later.
We also used to have a lot of arguments with Elaine as she used to come and go from the home when she wanted to. Sometimes during the night she would climb out of her bedroom window and leave the home. She often used to return home the next morning after Cliff and myself had left for work and the other children had gone to school.
Elaine's teenage defiance intensified in the second half of 1979 when the Johnson family moved from Cronulla to Cronulla, about a 10-minute drive away. But for teenagers, Cronulla felt like the middle of nowhere. It had little going for it other than being the home of the Caltex oil refinery. At least that's what John, a former Cronulla High School classmate of Elaine's, remembers from back in the day.
Cronulla was smelly, cold and considered the end of the world.
These are John's words, but not his voice. They are shared with his permission.
If you were from Cronulla or Bundeena, you had nothing to do with anyone from Cronulla. Bundeena was like a little quiet oasis tucked away from the big smoke. Cronulla was essentially a sleepy little village. You either surfed or you hung out at Flashes, the pinball drop-in centre near the station.
For Elaine, who loved the beaches of Cronulla, Cronulla was not an ideal place. And without a driver's licence or a car, she was essentially stuck.
When we went to Cronulla, there was no transport in and out on the Captain Cook Drive on the weekends.
Here's Helen.
You were sort of left to do whatever you could there unless you either hitchhiked or walked out.
There's one road into Cronulla and one road out. The distance from Cronulla to Cronulla is about 9 kilometres, a 2-hour walk. Today, Captain Cook Drive is a road framed by thick mangroves and scrub on one side and peppered with industrial sites on the other. Back when Elaine lived in the area, it was even more isolated and, according to some, even more dangerous.
We know Elaine and some of her friends used to hitchhike to Cronulla and home again. Most of Elaine's friends lived around Cronulla, but she did know a couple of people at Cronulla.
Here's Elaine's mother June again.
After we moved to Cronulla, Elaine often stayed away from home for a number of nights at a time. I think it was possibly because she didn't want to live in Cronulla, but wanted to be closer to her friends around Cronulla. She told us a few details of where she went to. We often had arguments with Elaine about her not telling us where she was going and staying out a lot. We continually asked her to come home at respectable hours. We never saw her drunk and she never appeared to be using drugs. We had no problems with other children and we asked Elaine to be like them.
During her time in Cronulla, Elaine began hanging out with a new group of friends. One of them was Kerry Ann Joel. Kerry was a year older than Elaine and, I've been told, had a reputation for not suffering fools. She was fearless. Kerry lived in Caringbah with her mother and her younger brother. Caringbah was about a 13-minute drive from Cronulla. Kerry was a keen rider with her own horse. She was also into motocross riding and had her own bike. She would become a pivotal figure in Elaine's life. When Elaine went missing in early 1980, Kerry was said to be with her.
I think she's only met Kerry like about, maybe 6 to 8 months prior to going missing. Kerry's best friend was Annie, well, at the time beforehand, but Annie got pregnant and then she started hanging with Elaine.
Here's Helen.
They supposedly met at Cronulla horse riding. I don't know what Elaine was doing at the horse riding. We didn't have a horse. There was the big horse riding place, and back then everyone shared everything. So I'd say she was just riding other people's horses and using other people's bikes because we didn't have anything like that. I know one of our friends had a horse and we were minding it for a couple of weeks while we were at Cronulla, so I'm supposing she'd just go up there with her friends and use their horses, and she met Kerry, and then they'd take the motorbikes down to the coal shafts and over to Cronulla and ride their bikes all out there.
Wendy has a distinct memory of meeting Kerry. It was one day in 1979 at the Johnson's family home in Cronulla.
I just remember they came in, she was sitting on the lounge and Elaine was getting changed or to go back out, and I just remember she was different from Elaine. She was more outspoken and rough-spoken. Like, she just wasn't Elaine's usual type to hang around with.
It was around this time Wendy also remembers Elaine's sense of style changed. She would turn up at home in new clothes.
I don't even know where she got them from because they were too expensive for Mum and Dad to buy. And she was always wearing nice, like, flowered jeans and tight pink and black hot pants, and her style was different. She used to wear skirts and tops and that, and all of a sudden she was wearing, like, these dearer flower pants and hot pants, and I thought she was so cool. I looked up to her because we used to get a lot of homemade clothes or second-hand clothes, so I'd like, wow, she looked gorgeous.
Years after Elaine's disappearance, Helen and Wendy were told about a local man who allegedly brought new clothes for teenage girls. More on him later. It wasn't just Elaine's clothes that had changed. Her attitude towards her parents had also dramatically shifted. One incident in particular would bring everything to a head. In December 1979, a few days before Christmas, the Johnson family were packing up the car for their first camping holiday together. Helen, Wendy and their older brother Alan were already in the car waiting. Elaine was nowhere to be seen. At the time, Wendy didn't think much of it.
But I remember leaving for the holidays to go camping, and we were all so excited about it. And I don't think we really wondered why Elaine didn't come. I think Mum and Dad just said she refused to come.
Oh, wow.
And I personally think Elaine stayed away on purpose so she could hang around with friends and stay, have her freedom. And I think she was meant to be, and I just vaguely remember that I think that we were sitting there waiting, and that I think Mum and Dad knew in the back of their mind that she was not going to come. Because as I said, she was getting defiant. And then we left because they weren't going to let us, they paid for it all. And yeah.
June said Elaine had made sure not to be at home when the family left. She had told her mother she was staying with a friend. The Johnsons had little choice but to take off without her. They drove down to Corrimal and Wollongong, about an hour south of Cronulla, for their beach holiday. They were due to spend a month down the coast, but Wendy remembers they came back early in January 1980 and what they arrived home to.
It did start raining down there, but I think Mum and Dad might have started getting worried too. So we did come back within the 3 weeks. So I do remember getting out the car and Mum and Dad at the front door of the house at Cronulla, and they were shocked at the state of the house. There was Dad's car smashed into the fibro at the front of the house, and when they opened the door, there was tea chests full of empty alcohol bottles. The house was trashed. Every bed was unmade. There was food all over the kitchen. And, obviously they must have had a very huge party there.
Elaine's mother, June, remembers she and her husband, Clifford, were disgusted at the sight.
We found the house in an absolute mess and there was clothes everywhere. The bath was full of beer bottles. There was also a hole in the fibro at the side of the house which looked like someone must have driven a car into it. Elaine was at home when we arrived home. There was another girl also with her. I don't know her name, but from her description we later thought that this girl may have been Kerry Joel. When we saw the state of the house, Cliff and myself were very disgusted. We spoke harshly to Elaine and Cliff told her to get her act together and behave herself like the rest of the family, or she will have to find somewhere else to live. Elaine just laughed and they both just left the house. She didn't take anything with her. Cliff and myself had to clean up the house. I can't remember if Elaine did return home after she left this day. Cliff believes that this is the last time that we saw her. She may have returned to the home when no one was at home, but I doubt it.
I've been told Elaine left the family home that day without any clothes. All her belongings, including her birth certificate, were left behind. Angela was good friends with Elaine and Kerry back then. She remembers hearing about the house party and it getting out of hand.
It was just too much chaos, like the boys just went mental.
I asked Angela if she remembered anyone who went to the party. She said she couldn't. Too much time passing, hazy memories, is a recurring issue for this investigation.
I can't remember after all these years, but I did. I don't know whether I went or not because I would have got stuck out there being Cronulla. I'd say all the people from Cronulla, so because they'd all go drinking at the park or whatever, and I don't think she had much control of. She was too much of a little petite girl that didn't have much say. She couldn't have bullied any of the boys back then and chucked them out or anything. I wouldn't have been going myself either. They were a wild bunch out at Cronulla. Once it gets out of hand, what do? You can't call the police. You'd never have another friend in the world.
The house party at Cronulla has remained a source of frustration for Helen and Wendy. They each have their own memory of its aftermath. Yet no one has ever told them what went on.
It's sad because it was a big party and with her big group of friends, no one has ever admitted to being there at that party.
As for why that is, Wendy has her own suspicions.
Maybe ashamed of the house, the mess and trouble Elaine got in, or that Elaine did go missing soon after that and so no one wanted to admit being at the party. I don't know. I just don't understand it. It was a party. If you were there, you were there. It's not like you did anything to Elaine, but we tried to find out who was at the party and who she was hanging around with at the party because that could have helped us. But no one seems to have been there.
I've been told the names of a couple of people who might have been at the party. I've reached out to them for an interview with no luck. The reason the house party is so important to the Johnson family is because, as June mentioned, it is one of the last times they can clearly remember seeing Elaine. Wendy remembers how Elaine became somewhat absent from the Johnsons' home life. She was often not there, weeks before she went missing.
And it's funny, sometimes you forget how much you didn't see her because she was out hanging around with her friends and she just wanted more time, outside of home with her friends and that. And then she started wanting to stay at her friends and not come home and be a few nights away and then come back. And sometimes you just didn't realise that, oh, okay, she's not home tonight. It was just normal or something.
There's a lot the Johnsons don't know about Elaine's whereabouts in the weeks after the party. Here's what they do know. After the ultimatum with her parents, Elaine spent time in a flat in Guyamea, a neighbouring suburb of Cronulla. Elaine only stayed there for a few days before her father and brother went to collect her. From there, Elaine allegedly spent time at 2 caravan parks in the area, one known locally as Cronulla Caravan Park in Caringbah because it was on Cronulla Lane. The other was in Woronora, down by Woronora River.
She was at Woronora Caravan Park as far as we know with Carrie.
Carrie's childhood best friend Annie heard something similar.
I was told because she went out with this certain boy, I don't want to mention names, and his father was living in a caravan at Woronora Caravan Park. So we thought she was there, went down there, no, couldn't find her.
There's another piece of information Helen and Wendy have been told from around this time. It involves Kerry taking her mother's car out for a joyride. I've been told she drove it down to the pinball parlour in Cronulla and picked up Elaine and a third girl, who we'll call Sandy. I've reached out to Sandy for an interview, but I'm yet to get a reply. Helen and Wendy have also spoken to Sandy over the years. Here's what Helen remembers her telling them.
It was in the February where they'd taken the car during the day, Kerry's mum's car, they were allowed to, and they'd gone for a drive. So this has happened just after she's left home. So she's obviously been in contact with Kerry and that. And they'd been driving around Cronulla during the day. They had a small bingle in the car, which was very minor in the end. Took the car back and Kerry's brother was at the house when they took the car back, and She grabbed a bag of clothing. This was Carrie. And then they took off. Now, was supposed to be with them because we've spoken to her since. And said she can't remember whether they walked or hitchhiked back, but they went back to Flashes after that.
Angela has also spoken with Sandy about this incident.
Another one of our friends, she used to hang around with me a lot. She was with them that night, and they decided to take Kerry's mum's car for a joyride, and they had a bit of a bingle, so they went and put it in the garage, and were a bit scared of what her mum would say, so obviously they've gone, well, let's go somewhere, like for a couple of days till the heat dies down, and that was it, gone.
When June heard Elaine had left, she was told Elaine was not alone.
We found out that Elaine had left with Kerry Joel. We were later told that Kerry had an accident in her mother's car. We were also told that Elaine and Kerry were together at the time. After we heard this, Cliff went to Cronulla Police Station and reported that Elaine was missing.
And Elaine hasn't been home in 45 years. Neither has Kerry. Elaine has no missing person file from 1980. If there was one, it has either been lost or destroyed, or something else has happened. I've reached out to a now retired New South Wales police officer, who I believe is the same officer who took Clifford's statement that day. I'm yet to hear back. As for what's happened to Elaine, Helen believes someone knows more than they're letting on.
No one has any idea of where the girls went to. It's just, we believe they do, but we don't believe they're telling us everything, and now years later that they're all worried or something because we don't know. I find it really strange because as when the police started to do their statements in 2014-15, we had that many friends.
As far as the family are aware, the first known police statements into Elaine and Kerry's missing persons case were taken more than 30 years after they were reported missing. We'll look into this in more depth in a later episode.
So there was about 300 friends and they're saying, well, which one should give their statements? And none of them were keen. But everyone said, you know, anytime you need any help, Helen, just let us know. We'll help you out. And then some got all upset because they had to give statements. Some took us off Facebook because they had to give statements. And we're just like, well, what have you got to hide?
Next week, on Out from the Cold, searching for Elaine.
We were the terrors as kids, like, truly. But there was so many of us like it. I mean, we got away with a lot of things that our kids don't even think of doing.
Searching for Elaine is a series from Out from the Cold, part of Happy Tuesday Productions. A special thanks to Helen and Wendy and the extended Johnson Cooper family for their time and trust. Thanks also to the Joel family, Elaine and Kerry's friends, and anyone who helped with information about the girls. It all counts. If you have information about Elaine Johnson or Kerry Ann Joel, you can get in touch at Help Find Elaine Johnson on social media or contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. This episode was produced by me, Kate Cartshaw, and Sally Spicer. Editing by Dan McHugh and Matt Haywood. Artwork by Nick Watts.